Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rezkya Srilestari. I'm a student in Rio University majoring in mathematics. Today I want to go and talk about supporting details and transition. Supporting details. Supporting details is words, phrases, or sentences that tell more about the main idea or the topic sentence. The key details directly explain the main idea. Other details may provide additional information over an example or further explain one of the key details. Supporting detail process. The first, identify the topic. To identify the topic of reading, ask yourself what is this about? The answer provides the topic of the reading. It does not need to be a complete sentence, and it is usually no longer than 2 or 3 words. The second, identify what the author is saying about the topic. To identify what the author is saying about the topic, ask yourself, what does the author want me to know about the topic? Again, this does not need to be a sentence and is generally 5 to 7 word long. The third, identify details that support or explain the main idea. To find the main idea, first take your answer from step 1 and it your answer from step 2, and then find a phrase or sentence in the first part of the reading that most closely matches your answer. This will be the main idea of the reading. To identify major supporting details that support that main idea, ask yourself what else in the reading helps me to understand the author's main idea. To identify minor supporting details, ask of each major detail, what else in the paragraph helps me to understand these major supporting details? Be aware that not all major details require further explanation, so they will not all have minor details supporting them. Type of supporting details. The first, example. Usually, a writer gives an example to make an idea practical and understandable. An example shows how a principle, concept, problem, or process works or can be applied in a real situation. The second, description. An author uses description to help you visualize the appearance, organization, or composition of an object, a place, or a process. Descriptions are usually detailed and are intended to help you create a mental picture of what is being described. Read the following description of the stylistic features of various artists' work. The third, fact and statistic. Facts are statements from reliable sources about real things, and statistics are facts expressed in number. The fourth, citation of research evidence. In many fields of study, authors support their ideas by citing research that has been done on the topic. Authors report the result of survey, experiment, and research studies to substantiate theories or principles, or to lend support to a particular viewpoint. Type of supporting details. The first, description. In the table, we can see in the example of description to describe about mathematics and statistics. The second, example. In the example supporting details of the example, there is the word for the example. And the third, fact and statistic. In the example of facts and statistics, the characteristic is if there are words that contain facts and there are sentences in the form of numbers. The fourth, citation of research. In the example of citation of research evidence, there is a word that contains where the quotes come from to strengthen an argument. The next topic is transition. Transition signals are linking words or phrases that connect your ideas and add cohesion to your writing. They signpost or indicate to the reader the relationship between sentence and between paragraph, making it easier for the reader to understand your ideas. We use a variety of transition signals to fulfill a number of functions. Some of these functions include to show the order or sequence of events, to indicate that a new idea or an example will follow, to show that a contrasting idea will be present, or to signal a summary or a conclusion. How are transition signals useful? The first, make it easier for the reader to follow your ideas. The second, create powerful links between sentence and paragraph to improve the flow of information across the whole text. The result is that the writing is smoother. The third, help to carry over a thought from one sentence to another, from one idea to another, or from one paragraph to another. And then, how are transition signals used? The first, transition signals are usually placed at the start of sentence. However, they may also appear in the middle or end of sentence. The second, a transition signal or the clause introduced by a transition signal is usually separate from the rest of the sentence by comma. The third, you do not need to use transition signal in every sentence in a paragraph. However, good use of transition words will help to make the relationship between the ideas in your writing clear and logical. Placement of transition word. Placement of transition word can be used within a single sentence, between or two different sentences, or even between paragraphs. Type of transition. The first, time sequence. The example word like first, later, next, and then finally. The time sequence aims to the author is arranging idea in the order in which they happen. And then any others, you can see type of transition with word example and the function transition for each part of transition in the table. The next, we can see example from the text about mathematics. The first, time sequence. The example, finally the third, asks another sample group to read each of the 4 works of art and mathematical argument for 9. The example word, finally, is a part of the example word time sequence transition. The second, example. The example, such as algebraic operator, function, differential operators, and any other, such as is a part of the example word of example transition. The third, enumeration. The example, the first task required a sample of individual to match the formats proofs to the 4 landscape painting based on how aesthetically similar they found them. The first is a part of the example word enumeration transition. The fourth, continuation. The example, an economist used mathematical models most extensively, and is a part of word example of continuation transition. The next, contrast. The example, however, it was not clear whether the results would be the same with different music. However, it's a part of the example word contrast. The sixth, comparison. The example, there was some consensus in judging the similarity of classical piano music and mathematics. Similarly is the part of the example word of comparison transition. The seventh, cause effect. The example, as a result, so there was considerable consensus in comparing mathematical argument to artworks. As a result is the part of the example word from cause effect transition. The eighth, chronology. The example, before we calculate a measure, we must prepare the tools so that we are easy to calculate. Before is the part of the example word of chronology transition. And the last, qualification. The example, if indeed the axis could not possibly be calculated so fast were the numbers required. Possibly is the part of the word example of qualification transition. Okay, until here just talking about supporting details and transition. See you later. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.